the agile brand.
Welcome to the B2B Agility Podcast, where we look at the factors that drive success in B2B marketing, with a focus on the people, processes, data, and platforms that make B2B brands stand out and thrive in a competitive marketplace. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom, advising Fortune 1000 brands on MarTech, marketing operations, and CX, best-selling author and speaker. Now let's get on to the show. What if rebranding wasn't just about a new logo and tagline, but about transforming an in-person company's entire culture and strategy? What if brand became one of your most valuable tools for business reinvention? Today, I'm joined by Maria Winans, Chief Marketing Officer at Kyndryl. After nearly 3 decades at IBM, Maria took on the monumental task of launching Kyndryl as a standalone brand following its spinoff. With a workforce of over 80,000 people across more than 60 markets, Maria has redefined what it means to build a world-class brand from scratch, one that's people-centric, culture-driven, and positioned for growth. Maria, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Looking forward to talking about this with you. Definitely a great story to be able to share here. But before we dive in, why don't you start by giving us a little background on yourself and your current role at Kyndryl?
Yeah, well, that's a great way to start. So, as you said, I've spent 29 years at IBM, and in my last role, in various roles, I started in sales, found my way into marketing, and found that niche of the analytical business side and the creative side. And it became kind of this unicorn of an opportunity to really lean into the marketing profession. In my last role, at IBM, I was the CMO for IBM Americas. So really driving our major market activities and initiatives for IBM across the Americas region. And now I had the incredible opportunity to be part of what we call one of the largest spin-offs in technology. So my current role is CMO of Kyndryl, and I lead all of our global marketing, our brand, our advertising, our country field teams, our account teams in, marketing and, in the field, content marketing and digital. So the full, call it end to end. And in being part of this job from the very beginning, I had the opportunity to create, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, the brand identity, the voice, the market presence, to truly establish a services-led brand coming from a product. So I'm really passionate about the opportunity. I'm passionate about being a data-driven marketing kind of organization and team, thought leadership, and really outcome-based storytelling where we put the customer at the end and the beginning, and very focused on the opportunity to really empower our teams in the field, in our global marketing centers and our global marketing markets to really surround the customer and to ensure that we show up at our best in our messaging and our value propositions.
Great. Well, yeah, let's dive in, and maybe I know you touched on it just then, but let's start at the beginning here. And, what was it like you'd been at IBM for 29 years, so technically, not a stranger to the company, but, what was it like to step into the role of building this completely new brand for Kyndryl after its spinoff from IBM?
Well, I think I won the jackpot. It was one of those career, kind of once in a career opportunity. I had an amazing career at IBM, but when this opportunity to do something very unique, building from my past and everything I've learned from, my career at IBM, and now being able to have the opportunity to say, how do we do something very unique, bringing the best of what I had learned and experienced, but the opportunity to create something new, the opportunity to be part of a historic moment, to really take the world's largest, overnight when we went public, we became the world's largest managed infrastructure services company. $18 billion, 90,000 employees around the world, 60 markets. And to me, this was like, wow, I get to be part of this historic moment and get to start from the very beginning. I was very uncomfortable. It was one of those like, what an incredible opportunity. But at the same time, in my gut, it was like, wow, I've never done this before. This is something completely different. And it really pushed me to lean into that discomfort, and think about, how do I take this moment to really think bold, as we think about what we needed to become from product-centric to a services-led company, to really challenge some of the traditional norms that existed in my prior company, and to really build something that was going to be, and I say to the team, historic in what we were to embark on. I knew it was a journey. I knew it wasn't going to be something that was going to be short term. It was a journey to really take this great, amazing opportunity and be part of a transformation story.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, having started a few companies in my career, I would say my least favorite part of that is the name of creating, like, going through that process. So it's fun when you get the name and you're happy with it, of course, but it's like there's a lot of pressure there because and again, I've worked with very large companies, but I haven't been responsible for naming a 90,000 person company. So I can imagine the pressure to, get the details, like the creation of the name Kyndryl, right, so to speak. How do you approach something so fundamental as a name? And, how did you make sure that it reflected the mission and the culture that you wanted to build?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm in completely the opposite. I think this is one of my favorite moments.
Nice.
Favorite moments of being part of, wow, I get to create something. I get to create the brand. I get to position the company from the very beginning. So when I look back, I say, wow, it goes back to that career kind of only opportunity. What CMO, what marketer doesn't want to be part of creating something that, it's going to stand history and time? So when I came on board, I had two jobs at the very beginning that I had to really grasp on and tackle. One was create the brand, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the second was, how do we motivate 90,000 employees who had built their career in our prior company to get excited about this journey? And so what that led me to believe and to understand, more importantly than anything, was that the brand had to have purpose. It had to be intentional, and it had to humanize what we needed to do. So think about, we come from a technology company, very historic, long legacy, but it's a product company. And overnight, we again became the world's largest infrastructure company, a services company. And at the core of a services company is our people. It's our people. That's what our customers trust us to do. That's what our customers say, your experts are core because they run the mission critical of my company. And so it was very intentional and very purposeful from the very beginning. We had to empower, and we had to put the people at the center of the name of the company and the purpose of the company. And as you said, naming is very difficult because, to trademark for a company of the size of what Kyndryl was to become, we started out with looking at name. And I'd have to say, Greg, over 200,000 names. And when you start to really work the funnel and say, okay, not that one, that's registered, that's trademark, you can't go there. The narrower the funnel became, became obvious that we weren't going to be able to take a term or a word that existed in so that gave us a creative moment to say, okay, we get to make up a name. We get to make up a name that's going to be uniquely ours, but it had to mean something. And so we started to explore what I call territories. What is it that we do? What do our customers trust us for? What does this brand need to represent? How do we show up in a modern way, in something different? And how do we really lean in, not only to acknowledge where we are today as a company, day one, but our ambition of what we wanted to become? And so two things stood out to us and, as a team. One was our customers trusted us. Our customers said, whatever happens in this spin, make sure that your expert is part of it, because that's who I trust. So this notion of kinship, the word kinship really started to resonate with me, in saying your best of kins are people that you trust. Your best of kins are people that are close to you. And then the notion of growth. We needed to grow with our customers together. We had a very ambitious goal to really grow this company to become a leading services company from not only what it does today, but to what we wanted to move into. So this notion of a tendril, this plant that grabs onto something and grows and grows and grows. So we took the word kinship for partnership with our customers, our people, and the word tendril that symbolizes growth, and we put it together. And we said, ta-da, it's Kyndryl. And then, of course, we played with the I's and the Y's, and we said the word had to be inviting. It had to be about co-creation. We went with lowercase Because when you're in lowercase, when you send a text and you want to make a point, it's capital
Right.
letters, it's big. We said no, it had to be inviting. And then no acronyms, no acronyms. We come from a world of a lot of acronyms. We wanted to be inviting, and we wanted to have a conversation, with our customers that allowed us to say, hey, Kyndryl is about you. Kyndryl is about the relationship we have and the growth that we can embark together. So that's kind of the history. And as you can tell by my voice, Greg, I'm very passionate. It is an incredible memory. And every time I get to talk about it, I feel like, I get goosebumps because it was such an incredible experience. And it's been tremendous to watch the brand grow with our employees and our customers and really start to build to what, the ambition that we have as a company.
Yeah, and that's amazing, and kudos to finding that right. Because again, to your point, wow, 200,000 names, that's a lot of things to go through. But to get to that point and to come out of it with something that's meaningful and that can be part of the to go back to your point a little bit, part of the challenge here, there's the external part of the brand, of course, that you're going to market with, but there's also that internal aspect of, motivating the people internally. And, I want to get back to that point a little bit. You mentioned that transition from, IBM, very product centric, to not only service centric, but, people centric, as you touched on as well. So, a lot of companies struggle with that for good reason. What were some of the key steps that you took to make, to help make that transformation from, again, not only product to service, but to really a people-centric transformation?
Yeah, and this is a very important, because not only was it part of, when you asked me earlier about joining in this mission, it was one because I get to be part of something so historic, so unique.
Yeah.
From the very beginning. And then the second thing was the notion of, we always knew from the very beginning, motivating 90,000 people, having our people really see themselves in the brand. And then being that the brand was a services company, it had to be at the core of the people. We knew that this mission was going to be a cultural transformation mission. Yeah. We knew that culture would be part of what would set us apart in where we came from and what we needed to become. So our early focus as a brand and mission was to really signal to our people that this brand is you. This brand is you. I can do the best job in marketing, positioning, and give it all the great meanings and all the great, but at the end of the day, what we sell and what is core to our value to customer is you, the people. So we had to make statements in our purpose, and we had to be very, and again, I use the word purposeful in everything that we did. So first, our value proposition and what we call kind of our purpose mission led with something like, together, each of us, advances the vital systems that power human progress. And the words together and each of us were very purposeful. It wasn't together. It wasn't you, each of you. It was together, each of us. And it really started to signal this notion of, it is our company that together, each of us are going to move forward in this mission together. So everything that we did prioritized words around purpose, around together, around intentional paths forward. The second thing that became very important is we had to very early on establish our cultural platform. And what that meant was we had to really introduce language around the behaviors and around the way that we would operate and organize ourselves. And we called this the Kyndryl way. Not the old way, the Kyndryl way. And the Kyndryl way is our cultural platform. And we introduced 3 real purposeful behaviors that we wanted to instill. And they were words like restless, as an example. And restless is a very different word than we had ever used before. And when you think of restless, it's about, how do I anticipate the next? How do I work with our customers? And I'm always having a pulse on what's emerging in technology. I'm thinking ahead. If we wanted to be a strategic partner, we had to work and anticipate and help our customers navigate the complexity of the today. So restless. The second word was around empathetic. One of the things, Greg, I didn't say early on, but we launched Kyndryl in the middle of COVID. Oh, wow. We created the brand in the middle of COVID. We were motivating and bringing people and saying, this is, come in this journey, be part of this during COVID. So the notion of being empathetic, listening, understanding, sympathizing, being able to really take, listen more than speak was a motion that we wanted to really instill. So restless, empathetic. And then the last word, very powerful, devoted. Not committed. Committed, I'm committed to my customer success. I'm committed to the company. It's great. It's more business term. We wanted the word that came from the heart. There's no notion of I am devoted to our success together. I am devoted to my customer success. So the Kyndryl way became our cultural platform. It started to signal words and behaviors like restless, empathetic, and devoted. And then the notion of organizing ourselves to move at speed and being agile. We needed to be flat, reduce hierarchy. We needed to be fast, remove, and we needed obstacles, and we needed to be very focused. So that was one. It was the early positioning of the brand, Kyndryl way as a cultural platform. And then the last is the notion of investing in our people and what I call the employer brand. We leaned into our talent journey. And what that meant is that each Kyndryl, we talked about their purposeful path at work. How do they achieve their ambitions? And really, how do they thrive in their adventure in a career at Kyndryl? And we started to talk about it, this notion of progress with purpose. Join us. Be excited about your talent journey. We're investing in you. We're going to be upskilling our people. And this was an organization that we really didn't invest in. So signaling to our people that we're investing in your journey, in your career, in your progress. And when you work at Kyndryl, it is about progress with purpose. So I would say that is what comes to mind, those signals of growing together and being in this path is our path together.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to talk a little bit now about the customer side of this. So, building the internal,
the most very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, spinning out of a company like IBM, there's always, I've been part of launching products and services at very large companies. Good, even if there's a good perception of that brand, there's still, baggage. I mean, baggage can be good, can be positive, but still kind of filter the way that people look at a company. So how did you keep and grow those customer relationships while introducing Kyndryl as an independent brand, as the service-based brand?
Yeah, so it was an incredible opportunity to really rethink our marketing model. Versus a very broad demand generation. Let me get, as many eyeballs and go out there with mass marketing. What we did is we said we needed to surround our customers. We needed to be very purposeful, very focused. Who are our top customers, our most important, that do business with us today across the 60 markets that we serve. And we needed to be very targeted in our approach. So we introduced this whole notion of account-based marketing. And truly, when I say account-based marketing is that one-to-one relationship with our most important customers, one-to-few in the industries that we serve, and very purposeful in how the brand showed up. What we needed to do is ensure that the brand still was what we've always done, for our customers, mission critical, the work that we've done, but we needed to surround them in the new, now being part of an independent company, joining a broader ecosystem of partners, being able to grow in new spaces. We needed to ensure that the marketing and the marketing function, introduce that with our customers in a very targeted way. We were primarily talking to the IT. How do we expand our relationships outside of just the IT into the line of business? So we organize the marketing function around accounts and then also around our core capabilities and specifically around the new and, in where we were investing for growth. So again, targeted focus and very much about, kind of I would say hand holding, but aligning our marketing to our most important customers.
Yeah. What were some of the maybe challenges or even surprises that you encountered while launching this new brand, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, and I would say challenges and surprises, but really it was one of those that our people were so passionate about what they did.
Nice.
Our people were so passionate about the work that they did. They almost felt like, I work for the customer. I am part of the customer's organization because that's what, they were trusted. because of their passion and their expertise, the customer, I remember my first conversations with some of our customers when we were interviewing them. And we said, we're going to be part of this, the company. We were kind of setting what was happening in the spin. And they said, the number one thing they said to me was, whatever happens in the spin, bring your expert. This is who I trust. This is who I trust. And, and that is what I want at the core of whatever happens in the forward. So to us, it was a surprise, but I wasn't, and I say it's a surprise, it was just incredible to see the passion of our people and the pride in their work. And so one of the things that we did in order to really kind of put the people again at the center, it goes back to launching the brand, is that we had to signal to our people that they were the founders of the company. So think about 90,000 people, day one, you're part of this new company. One of the things that we said, how do we tell our people that they are the company? And we did this thing where we said, you are founders. You are founders. And part of the growth of us together is we did this it was very simple, but very touching. We planted a tree for every individual, every person in the company. Nice. We said, because you're a founder, we're all putting roots on the ground together on day one. And we planted trees, which signaled you are the root of the company. You are the trust of our customers. And you are a founder. And you cannot imagine, Greg, the emotion, you're right. I'm here at the very beginning. And then even when we spun, we did a huge social campaign that said, thank you. And we did a reel, on LinkedIn that said, thank you, Maria. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Susan. We put everyone's first name of 90,000 names, and we said, thank you.
Wow.
And then the last thing that I'll share with you, we also, in our New York Stock Exchange, we wanted to invite everyone to be part of that moment. And so we did a big virtual broadcast. And I remember this, not New York Stock Exchange said, we've never done this before. We're going to break the internet. And I'm like, no, we have to make this work, because I want every single Kyndryl to feel that this is their day. And we connected people around the world. We had people physically there ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange, but we had a whole program that we created where everyone got to participate and virtually ring the bell.
Wow, yeah.
So again, surprise for me was the passion. And it's these little things that matter that made those signals like, yeah, I'm a founder. I'm part of this very beginning.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, as we wrap up here, a couple questions for you. First one, certainly I'm sure there was lots of learnings along the way and lots of insights gathered. What advice would you give to other CMOs or leaders who are about to embark on a rebrand, a spinoff, a brand transformation? What advice would you give to them?
I would say, listen, don't be afraid to feel discomfort. Like I told you at the very beginning, it was my first opportunity to be a public company CMO and to build a brand and do an amazing thing. I had a big gut in my stomach and I felt very uncomfortable. But when you're uncomfortable, you grow. And so don't be afraid to feel discomfortable, when you take on these projects. And don't be afraid to be bold. Be bold. So you have an opportunity to do something very unique. Don't play it safe. Don't play it safe. Really kind of ask those bold questions. Embrace the risk. Embrace the moment. Be open to what's next. And really, for the lesson, it's not only been a lesson for me in this opportunity with Kyndryl, but throughout my career of really, I've never feared, taking risk. I've actually felt regret. And what I mean by that is the regret of not being bold enough. So that's my advice to every CMO out there. Take a moment. And when you're not discomfortable, you're not growing. And so use an opportunity like to do what I had, to do something like what I had to do and embark on a brand or rebranding and be bold. Be bold.
Love it. Love it. Well, Maria, thanks so much for joining today. Very last question for you. I like to ask everybody, what do you do to stay agile in your role, and how do you find a way to do it consistently?
Yep. I think it's very simple for me. I stay very close to the market. I'm always learning. I'm always curious. I talk to analysts, talk to customers. I stay very closely aligned to our sales team. They're always bringing in sentiment from the outside. I always test and learn. I tell my team, test and learn, try new things, let's pilot new things. Let's continue to be curious. And I think my last thing that I would say, always be curious. I find myself asking questions, always trying to learn, because a curious mind stays agile, it innovates, and it stays competitive. So that's for me, kind of at the core of being able to stay agile and live and learn.
Love it. Love it. Well, again, I'd like to thank Maria Winans, Chief Marketing Officer at Kyndryl, for joining the show. You can learn more about Maria and Kyndryl by following the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening to the B2B Agility Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.b2bagility.com. That's b2bagility.com. While you're there, check out my series of best-selling Agile brand guides covering a wide variety of marketing technology topics, or you can search for Greg Kihlstrom on Amazon. Until next time, stay focused and stay agile.
The Agile brand.